Well, hi there. This is Alex from Who Target Podcast, and today we're going to discuss Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 3, The Well, and what a humdinger of an episode it was. It was scary, it was frightening, it was tense, it was all these great things that Doctor Who can be when it's done well. We have Ncuti's Doctor trying to get Belinda back to her world, and some beautiful bits of her discussing what a Friday night is with her family and how important that is, and the Doctor trying to say he will get back to that part of the earth for her. And then we end up 500,000 years in the future, and we still think there's humans around. And then the Doctor and Belle, or basically Belinda, or he calls her Belle, but Belinda, are basically thrown out of a spaceship onto a planet, and that's when it gets to the credits. So that's a great opening bit. Very good, fun special effect there. You see them sort of flying in space after the credits, because Belinda basically thinks he's going to die, but he doesn't die, basically. We land on this planet. It's a wasted planet, and we find out it's a mining planet for gamma ray, which is a form of radiation in the future. And we find that there's no mirrors. There's no mirrors whatsoever. All the mirrors have been shattered, and it's a very tense space base. And then we meet we meet the soldiers beforehand. They meet them because they're involved with the spaceship and that bit. But then we meet when we're on this base, Alice, this woman who's been there. She just said she's a canteen woman, but it's very interesting because it's played by Rose Ellis, who is deaf, if you didn't know, won Strictly, and there's been lots of dramas and EastEnders. I seriously recommend you watch Reunion, a very good drama completely with deaf actors in, but I would put the audio description on because nearly 90% of it is subtitles, basically, because of it being all deaf actors except for a couple of people who are signing. So then we learn that this is a mining economy. Everybody has died mysteriously. It sort of builds and builds and builds till we find out, and this is I didn't see coming whatsoever because I hadn't looked at any of the spoilers for why, Rose's character, Alice, what she's related to. I personally don't like spoilers when it comes to big things like this, so I don't look at them. That's what you can do. You don't have to read things. You don't have to listen to things. You can just switch off, and then it makes the episode much, much more fun, like it did for me. So we suddenly find out from the main woman, I can't remember her name, sorry about that, very bad memory, that this planet was made of diamonds. And I honestly thought that was Utopia. I thought he was back on Utopia, but it's worse for the Doctor. It's much, much worse. He's actually on Midnight. He's where Midnight used to be, and that's a big spoiler. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, ignore this bit, but he is on Midnight. He is on Midnight where he was as David Tennant many, many years in the Doctor's past, where he had the great virus that took over the space coach, what he was on. The absolutely awesome episode with Leslie Ass as the weird alien who takes over people's voices, and it's a really frightening episode. It's one of the best episodes in that time period of Doctor Who. It's just called Midnight. Go and watch it. It's awesome. So now the Doctor is back on Midnight, and now instead of it taking over people's voices, this nasty, disgusting person, alien, this entity, we don't know if it's an alien or an entity. I would say it's more an entity because it takes over people's souls and kills people around them. If you go behind Alice, you instantly get killed, and then people try and get behind her. The soldiers do their normal soldiery thing where they get guns out, which is always a bad mistake in Doctor Who. And sorry if you see a mug in the frame, I'm drinking a cup of tea at the same time, so you'll probably see a White Company mug in frame in a minute. So a nice cup of peppermint tea. I'm drinking peppermint tea and doing the podcast. It should be sponsored by peppermint tea, in my opinion. Anyway, so the soldiers all get killed by Rose. I want to call her Rose, but it's actually to call her Alice because her character is Alice. They come near her and all get thrown apart by the really nasty entity. And then the Doctor has the brain stroke thinking, well, I've got a really good shooter here of the soldiers. She can basically shoot anything, and then he gets her into the air hold of the ship, thinking, if she's in the air, we can blow her out and it'll never exist. But no. Unfortunately, the entity goes straight into Belinda, which is really good action from Belinda. I think she is one of the best companions we've had for a while. I'm really looking forward to Lucky Day next week when we see her with Melissa and see if it works, basically, see her with Ruby and see if it works. I don't know if we're going to see her with Ruby because I think Lucky Day is going to be like a standalone episode with just Ruby again, by the looks of it. But I'm hoping not, because I want to see how they work together. That's one of my things. So anyway, Belinda gets the entity, and Doctor works out he's got a crack shot for her, so he can shoot her in the heart, because it's gone into her heart, basically, and then bring her round afterwards, which he does, and it all looks successful. To also stop this entity ever coming back, there is a ginormous well in this space base. It's mentioned earlier. It's like a 6,000 deep well, and it's a ridiculously deep well. And the soldier, I just can't remember, brilliantly acted. I'm not too sure of the actors. I need to find that out. Basically decides to, if she falls down the well, then she can take the entity with, because the entity is now inside her from when she shot Belinda. And basically, she decides to go down the well, not knowing, this is the really good twist, you get all this as happy ever, Belinda's lying on the floor of the TARDIS, everything's great, everything's happy, the Doctor is sort of very sad for what's happened to her. He's very good at emotion, and that's what I like about Shoot. I know people hate it, I know people hate the crying, and there is crying in this episode, so you're probably going to loathe those bits, but I think emotions are important these days. We just don't show them enough, and I think they're important personally. So I think the bit where Shooty cries in the episode is actually poignant and worth it there. So she's back on TARDIS floor, her heart has come round, he's all great, and they move on to the next adventure. But before we get out of this adventure, we have two very interesting twists, and here's some more spoilers for you people, so listen away again if you don't want spoilers. One, suddenly on the screen, the commander is talking to another commander, and lo and behold, what is going on? It's Mrs. Flood. It's Mrs. Flood. We're going to have lots of Flood alerts, I think, this year in Doctor Who. It's Mrs. Flood dressed in a sort of army, being like a lieutenant, being her boss, basically, and very interested in, did the Doctor have the Vindicator, which is his device to hook the TARDIS back to planet Earth? And there's all these other questions. I think we're going to definitely have a questions video at some point, though, because there's so many questions. Why does nobody know about Earth? What is Mrs. Flood? We need to go into those in a bit more detail, I think, on another podcast. So, and then, second spoiler, and this is where it gets quite creepy, and I really like this. It's like the bit at the end of the Alien films where you think they've killed the alien and it's all fine and everybody's going to be happy ever after. But no. This is Russell at his most creepiest. We had that last scene where she's talking, she's called Mo, she's talking to the crowd and everything's happy, it's all been killed, it will go. And then she's staring at her, the entity is on her back again. Now, the thing is, that's another question. Are these entities part of the Pantheon? Are they the Trickster in different forms? That's what I always wonder with this, because when we got to the end of Midnight in the David Tennant Donna period, the end of Midnight, we saw the Trickster, the Beetle on her back, didn't we? So is Midnight starting a new Trickster bit in this season of Doctor Who? I'd love to know your feelings on that on the podcast. So let me know. As I said, I'm going to have to do one on questions because there was so many questions in my head about this brilliant episode. Performance-wise, I think, again, it's one of Shooty's best performances. And it's not for the dialogue performances. The dialogue performances are amazing. There's lots of great dialogue between his new companion, Belinda. There's that great bit where he goes, "Do you get costumes?" And he goes, girl, you're getting to love this. I just love him, and he's like excited. And then there's emotion. And then when the entities try and take over people, that's his facial expression. And he sees something really frightens in the Doctor. How does she know my name? How does she know everything about me, the entity? And it's very much like the bits we had with David Tennant and when the entity was taking over Voices in Midnight. And I seriously recommend that you go back and watch Midnight, because it's such a good episode with Leslie Ash and David Tennant. So overall, I'm giving this episode a 10 because it's awesome from start to finish. I had shivers for about an hour after it. It was that good. And I know people have been complaining, but that's your own fault, in my personal opinion, for looking at spoilers. Spoilers are the annoyance of the internet, unfortunately. And my plan is always with Doctor Who is, I like knowing a little bit, but I don't want to know a great bit. Like, I'm trying to avoid all the stuff about Mrs. Flood, because I'm sure there's spoilers out there saying who Anita Dobson really is. And I don't want to know. I really don't want to know till the end. And it's obviously going to be something with May the 24th, because that's something to do with the Earth not being there, and we want to know as best as possible. So I will not be watching spoilers, and yeah, if you like a spoiler, then let me know. We need comments. Let me know in the comments section of this video what you think, what you think about this season of Doctor Who so far, because I think it's just getting better and better. I think we started with a nice, safe episode in the Robot Revolution. Then we moved to absolute bonkersness of Lux and got to meet another Pantheon god, which was excellent. Very sad, very successful. Now we've moved to the Well, so I can't help saying the Well, because it's just the Well of Doom. You know, when you get a title like the Well, it's not going to be happy. And this episode just went up another gear. You know, you had a creature, an entity I was not expecting ever to come back, because I thought in Midnight it was all done. And I'm really hoping, I think one of the Target novels, don't quote me on this, but I think Midnight is coming as a Target novel. And I look forward to also reading Lux. I think Lux is coming as a Target novel this year as well, I think. So, yeah, that is everything for the moment. Will be another video because I need to discuss the questions in my head. And, of course, next week we have the first one back with Melissa's back, Mr. Gibson's back as Ruby Sunday. It's called Lucky Day and looks interesting because there was a trailer at the end. I'm sure there's trailers put up on YouTube by now. Anyway, enjoy, leave the comments, subscribe, hit that bell if you're not subscribing, and keep the love.